Question number 5, and this one's going to be an important one. It's how do I create curved stairs with the line and the shape tool? Notice here that with these kind of stairs, I was able to make a nice curve here. I didn't do this with stamped segments. I did this with the line tool, and I'll show you how to do that. And over here on this next one, you can also use the shape tool to make a staircase, and then you can just use the portals tool to cut off those. So there's a couple ways that you can kind of make them. So first, let me show you how to make a curved staircase. I'm going to open this up. Let's start with curved. And what we'll do here is that you choose the line tool, and you want to choose a stroke that you want that's got stairs. The trick is to choose the pen. When you click, hold, drag in any direction you want, then let go. Once you let go, you're going to notice that I can now curve whatever line that I'm doing. Now, the trick to doing stairs with the line tool and curves is do not do sharp curves like this. The objective is to try to make a more natural curve. You notice how the lines kind of straighten out a little bit when I start putting this together like this? The trick is about making sure that there is a smooth curve. You don't want crazy line work. See what happens when I do it this way? The curve gets funky. Okay, so you have to make sure that you're being very careful when you click, hold, drag, and then release. Be very careful as you're watching the line bend and curve, making it so much easier for you. So these curved staircases are very, very nice. I find them very useful. And then you can just copy and paste them, right? And then you can kind of add as much as you want to it, right? Maybe I want to create another set like this that creates a curve. But these are very, very helpful if you want to create maybe like a dwarven staircase that curves and kind of goes up a mountainside, or maybe some kind of grand staircase that goes to like an evil undead fortress, and it's got all these curves and parts are broken off. So the curve part is really, really important. Just remember what I said. You want to make sure that you don't have crazy curves like this. You want to make sure that it's a nice curve when you're putting it together. There isn't a technique that I know of to make a spiral staircase. You could make segments of curved, or what are called winders. These right here are called winders. These steps right here, these are called winders. And the problem with these is that you could make them with the line tool, but then you'd have to make individual pieces and then piece them together. You might as well just use the built-in stamps. But there isn't a way that I know of to make a full-fledged circular spiral staircase with the line tool that I know of, but it's worth exploring, and I think I can probably check that out because I think that is cool and I like that idea. So it's something worth looking into. I like that idea quite a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about making a curved staircase, like a circular one that you want to put against a tree or a circular tower or whatever it is you have, right? First, you'll make the circular shape of the building, but then you can just copy and paste that same building that you made with the shape tool, and then you can just go in and turn off the fill because you don't need the fill anymore. Then go to stroke, and then choose a stroke of your choice. You'll have to change the size a little bit to be the choice that you want, and then of course, you'll go over to shape tool, click portals, and then just select anywhere, and then you can just remove whatever portion that it is you don't want to have in the staircase, right? So now I can go in, go right here, put it up against it. And of course, I'm going to have to resize it a little bit so that it fits right along the sides of the wall like that. And then of course, I might want to change the scale a little bit so it's not so big. I'll bring the size down. And I can just fit it right up against here. And now you have like a bit of a curved staircase. And don't forget, you can also, if you want to show that depth, you can use the shape tool, line tool, whatever it is you want to use. If you want to see some depth with it, then let's go ahead and use the shape tool for that. Let's go shape. I'm going to use the brush. I'm going to choose turn merge shape off. I'm going to turn stroke off and choose fill, and then choose a black color. So go over here. We're going to choose color. We're going to choose black. And I'm just going to apply it right here like this, just so I can kind of edit it live. So I'm going to change the blur on this, bring the blur all the way up, and then bring the opacity down. And then I can go in and just kind of paint areas. Let's turn the opacity down a little bit. And then we'll bring the brush size down just a hair. And then I can go in like this. And then I can apply the shadow that I want. And then I can copy and paste more shadows, right? If I want to create more depth, another circular shadow, copy, paste. Let's put another one right like this. Make sure they're lined up. And then let's add another one right here to show more depth right here like this. So you can see there's a lot of different ways that you can show depth, right? And remember the trick, you want to look for the shadow of the riser so I know what is up and down. You can see the shadow of the riser here. So I go right here, and then you can kind of see the staircase as it winds upward into it. So you get the idea. You can make stairs with lines and with the shape tool. And honestly, the method is up to you on what is easiest. I've been so used to using stamps that sometimes I use that. But when it comes to more complex shapes like landings and stuff, I'll do that. So for instance, if I'm making a grand staircase, you can make one with the line tool. Check this out, show you a cool tool. I can go like this, and then I have these shapes right here. But you'll notice that there's these strange curves to it that don't look right, but that's easy to fix, right? All I have to do is just add landings in that corner. So you'll see that's there. Then I can just go in right here and just place a landing right on top of that. And that just gives yourself less work, right? I just made an entire staircase with just one line, and then I used the landings in the center there. So it's pretty easy to put together staircases. You can just do the zigzag shape that you want and then put landings over the corners because you know it looks funky like that. And that's where the landings would be anyway. So it's a quick way to make a series of flights or a grand staircase without having to add all these additional pieces to it. You just make it with this line and then add the landings. It's as simple as that. And you can do the same concept too if you were making a staircase like this, right? I wanted to make a staircase that was square, and then of course, I don't want to make an Escher-like staircase, so I'm going to go in and remove it like this. And then, of course, I can go in and just add the landings right on the corner. So pretty easy stuff, right? Stairs are not as complex. They're easy to put together once you start understanding the tools, figuring out where to put everything. So I think that is it for the last question for stairs. I can go over the chat real quick and see if there's one that I missed. I think I covered most. If anyone has any questions, throw them in the chat and we can go over it. But I think I've covered the basics about it, and it's not as complex as you think. It's just about figuring out location, what kind of material to use, where to put them, what kind that you want to have. All of those things are very, very helpful. So putting together stairs, not complex, so much easier than you thought, right? Because I know they can be confusing, right? They can be confusing, so it's understandable. I'm going to check the chat. We're going to wait just maybe about 30 seconds to see if there's any more questions. And if there isn't, then we'll move on to roofs. And roofs are even more complex than stairs. You know what? I stream every Wednesday and every Friday. Wednesday is a masterclass, and Friday is just a regular stream for like new users and stuff like that. So definitely